Hello and welcome everyone to another installment of the most anticipated games. This time we'll turn our eyes to the second half of 2023 and talk about which games I'm looking forward to the most. At a glance, the lion's share of releases seems to be concentrated in October, presumably to bolster the sales for the upcoming holiday season. But please, for the sake of my bank account, other months exist too. In order to make this coveted first list, the game must be available on PC and will likely be a day one purchase, so these are games I'm really excited for. Other games that I'm generally interested in but won't be buying right away will be added to the honorable mentions list. This will also include games that aren't being released on PC, at least not yet. I hope that many of them will be ported in the future. Alright, these will be listed in chronological order within their category, so without any more delay, let's get started. Kicking off the most anticipated list is Assassin's Creed Mirage. I have to temper my expectations for this one since I am an Assassin's Creed fan, but from what I've seen so far, it looks pretty good. This is a day one purchase for me, however, there are a couple of things that make me think they could have done more. For starters, we're once again going back to the Middle East, albeit a different city and time period, but it's not completely new, so that's a bit of a bummer. Second, this is yet another cross-gen title. It should still look pretty good, but I'm not expecting the visuals to wow me. But it's not all bad. In a way, this kind of feels like an Assassin's Creed 1 remake. More importantly, this game is supposed to go back to its roots, meaning it's shorter, tighter, and more story-focused. Black box missions are returning, and there's more emphasis on stealth and parkour, which is good news. However, I'm a little disappointed to see that the animations look to be the same from Odyssey and Valhalla. I would have loved it if they implemented and improved upon the parkour system from AC Unity, because that to me was the height of AC traversal. But overall, this is a step in the right direction. Play as Basim in 9th century Baghdad on October 12th. Next is Alan Wake 2, which comes out within a week of Assassin's Creed Mirage, which might be rough if you're a fan of both games. With a much needed second entry, Alan Wake 2 is the long-awaited sequel coming 13 years later. With modern graphics and updated gameplay, there's something very Resident Evil-esque about the way it handles and looks, but I'm totally cool with that. I'm hoping that it has a good story and that it's as scary as they say it is. This will not be available on last-gen consoles. You can pick up Alan Wake 2 on October 17th. Next is Cities Skylines 2. I love the original Cities Skylines because it was almost everything I wanted in a city building sim. Everything that I liked from the first game, like the resource management, zoning, and planning, will make its return, but with some quality of life improvements and added depth. So my hopes are high that this will be great as well. Hopefully, if what they say is true, the revamped traffic AI will be better out of the box. Build your own city on October 24th. And that's it for the most anticipated list. I'm genuinely surprised that only 3 games are day one purchases for me. I really thought more games would make this list, but the back half of 2023 seems unexpectedly weak, at least for PC. But that brings us to the second part of the video, the honorable mentions. These are games that didn't make the cut as a day one buy, or they're stuck behind a console exclusivity deal for now. Starting off the honorable mentions list is Ratchet & Clank. As a surprise to everyone, Sony announced that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart will be coming to PC. I don't know how popular this series is to PC gamers, so I'm curious how well this will sell. This is a game I'll purchase when it becomes cheaper. You can play Rift Apart on July 26th. Second is Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. I don't know anything about this series, but I like big mechs, so color me interested. Unfortunately, this is a cross-gen title. But there's still a little bit of time before release, so I'm hoping for a polished experience, because the gameplay we've seen in the trailers looks fast-paced. I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach, but if this is up your alley, it comes out August 25th. Originally slated for 2022, then early 2023, then sometime in the first half of 2023, and now September 2023, will Starfield finally see the light of day? This year's Xbox Showcase and Starfield Direct really helped build a lot of hype, so I'm curious to see what it's all about. With plenty of planets to explore and storylines to uncover, Todd Howard has lofty expectations to fulfill with this so-called Skyrim in space. I'm cautiously optimistic, but you can always try it out relatively risk-free on Game Pass on September 6th if you own an Xbox Series console or PC, barring any unforeseen delays, of course. If you don't know, I'm not the biggest Dark Souls fan because being difficult for the sake of being difficult isn't really my thing, but I loved Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Now, don't get me wrong, the Souls-like combat in those games was pretty good and very fun, but that came second to the setting and story. The combat in Lies of P doesn't feel quite as tight as Jedi Survivor, but the setting looks very cool, and if it has a good story, then I'll pick it up in the future. You can try out the demo before taking the plunge in this dark and creepy steampunk world on September 19th. Alongside Assassin's Creed Mirage, Alan Wake 2, and Cities Skylines 2, the next couple of games are also coming out in October and within 2 weeks of each other, no less. Let's kick it off with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which looks really cool. Peter Parker has the new symbiote suit and new powers. I don't think this will push the boundaries of the Spider-Man series a ton, but not every game needs to be revolutionary. It looks really fun, but who knows when it'll come to PC. Spider-Man 2 comes out on October 20th as a PS5 exclusive. Rounding out the October releases is Alone in the Dark. This looks like a fun murder mystery survival horror game. It's hard to make a judgment based on the demo since it was so short and didn't have any combat, but I liked it and I'm curious if they can keep that suspense high throughout the game. Another thing in the back of my mind is I'm hoping it's not one of those games whose entire budget went to the actors. Looking at you, crime boss Rockay City. Travel back in time to the 1920s on October 25th. Rounding out my honorable mentions is Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I'm actually only lukewarm on this one because I only have room for one tower climbing game, and that's Assassin's Creed. But after watching Avatar: The Way of Water, which was the greatest OK movie of all time, will this be the greatest OK game of all time? We'll see in December if that date holds true. Avatar is set to release on December 7th. Next are a few notable misses. Now, this doesn't mean that I think the game will be bad. Well, one of them is, but it'll make more sense if I just told you. The first is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This makes the list because it's confirmed it will not be releasing this year, despite some lingering hope. I'm really looking forward to Rebirth, but PC players like myself will have to wait. Expect an early 2024 release on PS5. Until then, we can at least enjoy Final Fantasy XVI on PC. Oh wait. It's sad to say this, but oh how the mighty Rocksteady have fallen. Not only does Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League keep getting delayed, it will no longer come out in 2023 at all. But more importantly, the showcase that was supposed to show off the game looked absolutely terrible. I had this on my most anticipated list in the previous video, but that was before they showed off that horrendous and repetitive gameplay. Nobody wants to play as King Shark just to shoot at purple warts all day. But will this almost year-long delay be enough to change that and make it look fun? I really have no idea. They're gonna have to pull out some magic from a hat to rebuild trust. But until then, we'll just have to wait and see. This is scheduled to come out in February of next year. If you're a fan of gory fatalities and over-the-top bloodshed, then this next game is for you. Coming in during the new wave of fighting games, Mortal Kombat 1 looks gorgeous and the new cameo system seems interesting. And not to mention the guest characters look awesome too. Mortal Kombat was never really for me, but I expect this to sell well. This comes out September 19th, same day as Lies of P. And that's the bulk of my list. As I mentioned before, I'm surprised and disappointed that only 3 games are day 1 purchases for me, making it a much weaker than expected second half of the year. But there are quite a few games on my honorable mentions list that I do want to play eventually, but just aren't exciting enough for me to buy on day one. And if we turn our attention to the release schedule, take a look at how many games are coming out in September and October. And lastly, here are some other games that are still tentatively slated for 2023 or early 2024. We still don't have any updates for a lot of these, so I'm not holding my breath. I expect many of them will be pushed back into late 2024 and beyond. Let me know which games you're looking forward to the most. You might have a game I didn't consider, so I'd like to know what you're excited to play. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, let me know down below and subscribe to check out the next video where I rate all the games I played in the first half of 2023. A lot of those games were some of my most anticipated releases from the first half of the year. Did they deliver or did they disappoint? Find out in the next episode.